Hello, Vijay Lakshmi.
Hi, Kusum.
Hi, Shilpa. So happy to see you.
Hi.
So do we have any data as to what is the number of registrations today?
One more thing, Kusum. Okay, we are going to introduce today the committee members. Okay, we will take 5 minutes of speaker time initially.
Okay.
Then, once the committee is introduced, then you can start with speaker introduction.
Absolutely fine, sir.
Approximately 30 registrations.
30 registrations, 33 is it? Okay, good to know that.
Hi Kusum, how are you?
Good. I'm doing fine, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. And how many people are there? 15.
Yeah, right now we are 15. We missed you, sir, when we met up.
Yeah. That day I was out of station. I had informed in advance so that wanted to be kept on a Saturday. So, but it wasn't possible for larger convenience.
Yes.
Shall we wait 5 minutes? Attendance is rather poor.
Or maybe we should start and then, no, the speaker also is yet to join, I guess. So
Okay,
we will
so
start because
we'll
Subrao
give
has
it,
some
I
agenda.
think 2-3 minutes. Numbers are increasing, so
Yeah, we will wait 2 minutes, sir.
yeah.
Okay. It appears to me the speaker has joined and we are about 26 in number. Thank you, Shravan.
I think we can start, Srinivas, sir.
Yeah. Hello, welcome everyone. I will start the meeting. I think about 28 participants are there, which is not a great number, but a decent number. So let me begin the session by welcoming everyone. The first, before the speaker makes his presentation, I would introduce you to Mr. Venkata Rao, who is the president. So he was elected as the president on in the meeting we held on 1st of April. He was unanimously elected elected president. He is company secretary and RP and RV. So he has a lot of experience in the secretarial matters and insolvency and valuation, etc. He will take us through the responsibilities of committees, responsibilities, the introduction of office bearers, their responsibilities, etc. So I will hand over, with these few words, I will hand it over to Mr. Venkatesubbarao Kalva.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thanks for your kind introduction. Good evening, all. We Bangalore Valuation Association members, like we had the meeting, the last committee meeting has been elected new committee members. Now, this like office bearers, I will introduce all office bearers apart from me as a president. We have Shilpa Kiran, who is Vice President Education, and she will take care of the conducting different sessions, meetings to ensure selection of a good valuation topics and to invite eminent valuation experts to BVA forum. And to decide the length or duration of the program to give CAP or not, and to do physical or online or residential work programs. And she is basically company secretary and insolvency professional and registered valuer, having more than 20 years of experience. Thank you, Shilpa, for accepting as VP Education, and we are looking great sessions from you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I request all the members to please post your requirements on a specific topic so that the sessions could be made more meaningful.
The second, Sheetal Mandana, she is Vice President Information Technology. She will take care of all technical initiatives of BBA, website, LinkedIn profile, YouTube channel, or session recordings, storage, in case physical sessions are held to ensure all live streaming, etc. She will be main participating in BBA website development. And she is a company secretary and registered valuer, having more than 10 years of experience. Thank you, Sheetal, for accepting as a Vice President IT, and we are looking more from you regarding IT development in BVA. We have next committee member, Jivika Poddar. She is Vice President membership. Her role is to guide the association to steps to be taken to increase the members in BVA and to address any issues for new members and renewal of existing members, and to ensure after 1st October fees is ready for new members, and she will take care of all membership related matters. And she is company secretary and registered valuer. She's having more than 10 years of experience. Thank you, Jivika, for accepting as a Vice President membership and looking great from you, okay, to increase our BVA members and to address all members related queries.
Thank you, BVA, for giving me this opportunity. I would like to say to all the members that this is your association. If you have any issues, you can come to us, let us know, give your suggestions. We are here for you. So looking forward to a wonderful year ahead. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jivika. Next, we have Secretary Mr. Ramurthy Srinivasan, who is more than 30 years of experience, chartered accountant, insolvency professional, and registered valuer. And he will be the face of the association at various government levels, including IBBI officials, and inviting industry experts as a chief guest or guest of honor, and to ensure BVA management committee meetings to be held for every month, and also to circulate the minutes of the meeting. And he is the face of the BVA. Thank you, Ramurthy Srinivasan, sir, to accepting as a secretary role, and looking forward to work with you in great.
Sir, you have grossly exaggerated the role. I'm not okay, but with your support, I think I will discharge my responsibilities.
Thank you, sir. Next role is Addangi Harish. He is the treasurer for our BVA, and his roles are ensuring all requisite payments are made and payments issues of membership fees are cleared, and accounts are up to date, IT returns are filed on time, and present quarterly accounts and as well as annually accounts to the committee, and possible checks for easy payments like PhonePe, GPay, and Paytm. And he is basically a chartered accountant and insolvency professional and registered valuer. And he's having more than 20 years of experience as a chartered accountant and insolvency. Thank you, Addangi Harish, for accepting as a treasurer, and I request to take care of all finance matters relating to BVA. The next role is Ravindranath Narayan Rao. He is a research committee member and he is the founder member also for our BVA. And he will support all in research related matters that shall be like the research committee shall come with innovative ideas like researching it together on valuation topics and submit their research findings to BVA in any session or to create half-yearly newsletters or conducting any competition, say like best valuation articles. I request Ravindranath to participate more in research committee and to give more value to the BVA. And he is basically chartered accountant, insolvency professional, and registered value, having more than 20 years of experience. Thank you, Ravindranath, for accepting the research committee role and the founder member. And he has served like from the beginning of there, he is there. Thank you, Ravindranath.
Thank you, Subra.
Yeah. Again, we have Ganesh Ramani, education committee. He is basically chartered accountant, registered valuer, and he will support to the education committee and all activities which are done being by education committee. Shilpa, vice president, he will support. And sir, we are looking more industry experts from you also for our BVA to give more knowledge to the BVA members. And he is a chartered accountant and a registered valuer from Chennai. We have other research committee member, Mr. Subbarayadu Talla Pragada. He is a cost accountant as well as the registered valuer, and he is also a CPA member, and he will be part of our research committee to provide different articles and research committee membership. He will be there. We have Kusum RH. She is also part of education committee, and she is also she is a chartered accountant and registered valuer having 20 years of experience. And we are looking more from you, Kusum. Okay, even today's speaker also, she only coordinated, she only brought. Thank you, Kusum, for your help. And looking forward more speakers from your side. Vikas Suresh Kumar is also research committee member. He's a chartered accountant as well as a registered valuer, and he is basically from research committee. He will take care of all research committee meetings. Articles. Abraham Matthew is also part of research committee. He is the founder member and the past president. Thank you, Abraham sir, for accepting the research committee and looking forward more research from you on valuation.
Thank you, Subra.
Yeah. Uttam Padiwal, he is a chartered accountant as well as a registered valuer. He is a part of education committee member. He will be helping the education committee member to get more valuation experts for different sessions. Thank you, Uttam Padiwal, for accepting as a education committee member. We have Chinmaya AM, research committee member. He is a chartered accountant as well as a registered valuer, and he is having more than 20 years of experience. With great experience, he will provide a lot of research in the valuation, which will be helpful for BVA members. These are all part of our...
One more addition, Sindhu Hegde, for the research committee.
Yes, Sindhu Hegde also is a part of Chinmaya, and she will be working with Chinmaya, and she will be part of research committee. Thank you, Sindhu, for accepting as a research committee member, and looking forward more valuation topics from research committee from you. These are the new office bearers, and everything in BVA Bangalore Valuers members and office bearers is updated, all phone numbers and mail IDs. If any BVA members need any help, you can contact, you can ping us, and you can call us directly, and we will help you. And even we have appointed one administrator, Miss Vijaya, from financial year 22-23 onwards also. Even she is there in BVA members. Any difficulties in getting CEP certificates or any membership fees or any other matters or any links, you can contact her. She will help in all matters. And thank you, Vijaya, for accepting as an administration role. Now I request Kusum to take it forward and give the introduction about today's speaker. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Subra, for the lovely introduction of all the new office bearers, and wishing good luck to all the office bearers, and we can do wonders only if we all come together. So members as well as the office bearers, we have to work with each other to make it a wonderful and a successful year. And coming to today's topic, today Bangalore Valuers Association is facilitating a discussion on how to bring about efficiency within the business valuation process. And in this regard, we have Mr. Jean Porot. He is the managing director at Valutico, a UK-based fintech startup. Jean, he initially started his career as a part of the French economic diplomacy working in Paris and the Embassy of France in Malaysia subsequently. He, prior to joining Valutico, he was working in a M&A boutique firm which is based out of London. With this, I think I would want to hand over the session to Jean. He will deliberate on the on Valutico as a company and the platform that Valutico has developed. Thank you, Jean. Over to you.
Thank you, Kusum, for the very kind introduction, and good evening to everyone. I guess it's quite late where you're based now, so thank you so much for taking the time to organize this session today. And I'm very glad to have a chance to present the solution to a lot of valuation experts in India and in Bangalore especially. So thank you so much, Kusum, and all of you for this opportunity. So just maybe to start with a bit of background about who we are. I think Kusum did a good job at introducing who I am already. So I'm just going to give a background about the company. So we basically we are more or less all working in investment banking. And we decided approximately now 5 to 6 years ago to try to develop a solution in order to bring efficiency within business valuation processes, in order to try to avoid to have to reinvent the wheel again and again every time we have to work on a valuation. So it took us like almost 2 years to end up with a solution that we were comfortable to actually commercialize. And eventually we started commercializing, so I think now almost 4 years ago. And long story short, we currently have a bit more than 500 clients all around the world. So we reached the milestone of 500 clients quite recently at the beginning of the year. To give you an idea, the type of users of Valutico are, I think 70 to 80% are advisors in general, so advisory firms in general. So we work with a lot of accounting firms all around the world with an advisory activity, obviously. We work with management consulting firms, M&A boutiques, corporate finance boutique. So any type of firms that is offering financial services for transactions, M&A, litigation, for example, as well. And we do work with more and more investment managers as well. And so we have like approximately 15 to 20% of our clients who are like private equity funds, family offices, VCs would join Valutico, as we always try to keep developing the solution to bring new features to be able to respond to different type of valuation practitioners in different markets. So that's what we do. We also have like a couple of other quite unique clients. We work with a couple of governmental agencies. We also work with some banks. And so we, for example, have one of our main clients is Standard Chartered Bank in Singapore. So we have an extensive collaboration with them since Q3 now, 2021. So basically, something interesting to keep in mind is that we have the capacity to work with different type of practitioners in many different markets. Now we are present in more than 40 countries, and we have this capacity because we try to offer enough flexibility to all the users to use Valutico the way they need to use it. Okay. Maybe just to give a quick overview about what we are currently doing in India. So we actually launched the market quite recently, and we have like approximately. Sorry, I think, is there a question? Or...
I'm sorry, there appears to be some background. I will request the host to mute all participants and unmute the speaker, please.
No worries. I think that's fine. It was just a mistake. Thanks. So yeah, I think we started looking at the Indian market in November or December last year. So valuers as an API. Yeah, I mean, now we have an amazing opportunity to also present Valutico to different type of associations, local associations. We have another webinars with another association actually next Tuesday. So that's we are creating a bit of momentum in India, and we start having very insightful feedback from a lot of Indian players, which obviously help us to also improve the platform to make sure that you can make the most of it as a valuation practitioner based in India. Anyway, I don't want to get too boring about our story, what we are doing. I'm just going to share my screen now. I'm going to show you how the solution works. And then I don't know how you want this to work, Kusum. Is it like a Q&A? We do a Q&A at the end, or should we take the question as we go?
Yeah, maybe you could actually demonstrate the capabilities of the tool, and if the participants have any questions at the end of it, you could address the questions, if that is fine with you as well as the participants.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, go ahead.
Perfect. So I'm going to share my screen now. All right, if you can confirm when you can see my screen, that would be fantastic.
Your screen is visible, Joe.
Super, thank you very much. So what you see here is the dashboard of Valutico. We operate as a SaaS, so it's very easy to use. And we just need a URL, a login and a password, and you can access the solution from any location at any point of time from any kind of device. And so you can log in from your laptop, obviously, but you can also log in from your mobile phone, your iPad. Therefore, it's quite smooth and easy to work using the solution in different circumstances. As you can see in the dashboard, we have three main tools that we are going to focus on today. So we have Valutico resources that will give you a direct access to our data source, basically. So we have different types of data sources that we are working with. The main source of information is coming from the database S&P Capital IQ. And so S&P Capital IQ is one of the biggest databases in the world, probably one of the main competitors of Bloomberg Terminal. And we are, as a distribution partner, we are focusing on distributing only certain data sets from Capital IQ, mostly transaction comparables and trading comparables. So one of the value proposition of our solution is that we offer to all our clients direct access to the data that are the most relevant for them, integrated in our system at a much lower price of a price point than Capital IQ. So this is one of the reasons as well why our clients enjoy the use of the solution. Then we have capital markets that might be slightly less relevant for some of you. This is dedicated to the valuation of listed companies. So most of the time this is dedicated for some of the wealth managers working with us, some hedge funds, for example. But yeah, one of the most important modules that we are selling is actually the private markets module, which allows you to value private companies. And so this is what I'm going to show you today. Keep in mind that the process of the capital markets is very similar, but as we already have access to the information about the listed companies, we can automate the valuation much faster. And the data that you can find in resources is also available in private markets. This is just a different visualization, basically. So whenever you need to value a private company, just click on private markets and you can create the project of the company that you want to value. Okay, so you can just enter the company name. So it could be a test webinar Bangalore 22, for example. Then you enter the location. So this is by country. So let's take India. Then you can select the industry of the company. So you can both by NACE or NAICS codes, or you can also simply just type the industry name here. So we could, for example, value a company active in IT services. The fourth and last information to enter here is the last annual revenue. So we are in euros as default, but you can switch to Indian rupiah and you can enter the last annual revenue. So it could be, for example, 250 million. And the last annual revenue can be much higher or much lower. It doesn't really matter. The mechanism will remain the same. And then depending on the type of valuation that you are going to work on, you will just have to readjust some parameters of calculation during the valuation process. So then we have two other optional fields. Similar public company will allow you to add listed companies that you think might be similar to the private company that you are valuing. And we will use this information in our algorithm to generate better list of peers and better list of transactions later on. So if you know a company, that's quite interesting to add it. And you can also change the valuation date if you want to value the company in the past. And so we update the database on a daily basis. If you don't change the valuation date, that will be valuing the company as of today. But you can also decide to value the company of your client, for example, as of the 1st of January 2021, and to see the evolution of the market, the market data, for example. So let's keep it simple for this valuation test. So now you can create the valuation, and this is going to save the project in the dashboard. So this is saved in the cloud, and therefore that allows you to very simply duplicate a valuation and therefore share the valuation internally within your team members and also externally with your client to have a very smooth interaction to work on the valuation project. So now we enter the full valuation process. The second step is what we call the qualitative assessment. The qualitative assessment is where we are going to work on the level of risk of your small private company. Then we will look at the peer selection, where we are going to create a benchmark of publicly listed companies that might be similar. After that, we will work on the business plan, where we can work on different financial projection scenarios, mostly for the income approaches. And the transactions, for comparables transaction, where we will have a capacity to find similar private companies. Eventually, we gather all this data in our models and we generate a valuation overview with all the methodologies available in Valutico. And once you readjust all the parameters of calculation, you can very easily generate a report in PowerPoint or in a Word format, and you can tailor-made and create your own report. Okay. So this is the full process of doing a business valuation in Valutico. But something very important to keep in mind when we look at the process of valuation in our solution is that even if all the steps are interlinked, they are also independent. So if for example, if for any specific project, you don't want to use certain steps, you always have the capacity to skip some steps and to change every single parameters of calculation. And so you have a lot of flexibility in the way you are going to use the solution, depending on the type of valuation projects that you are going to work on. So important to keep that in mind. All right, so now let's take a slightly deeper look in every single step. So if we go to the qualitative assessment, the second step, as I mentioned, this is where we work on the level of risk of our small private company. So this level of risk will be reflected by what we call the risk factor that will always start at 3.0 and will be used as a pivot to derivate in a linear calculation methodology the cost of equity premium that we are going to use later on to calculate the WACC, and to derivate also in a linear calculation methodology the discount that we are going to apply to the trading multiples in the next step in order to compensate the lack of liquidity of our small private company and to be able to compare it with bigger listed companies. Okay. So what you need to do basically now is to look at the factors that are available in the qualitative assessment, such as the company size, the positioning, information about the market, the management of the company, sales and purchasing. So if you are reliant on key distribution partners or key suppliers, the type of product or service delivered by the company, if there is any IP, for example, and the financials. So every single factor here has a risk level going from 1 to 5. 1 on the left side will always be considered as less risky, which will decrease the risk factor. And as you can see, therefore, because of the linear calculation methodology, will decrease the cost of equity premium and the discount to the trading multiples. 5 on the right side is going to increase the risk factor and therefore increase your size premium. Okay. So the idea here is to give you a kind of a subjective approach for you to start thinking of the level of risk of your company. And later on, by tailor-making a bit your qualitative assessment to better justify towards your partners and clients why you've been using a cost of equity premium at 6.8%, for example. And so you can just play around these different features. And you can also look at the weights. And so the weights is quite interesting here because every single factor will have a specific weight. So these are like default weights that we used based on a research that we did with some of our first clients. But you have the capacity to readjust it. So depending on the market of the company, the industry and the size of a company, you can just readjust the weights to allocate a bigger or a smaller weight to different factors. Okay. So this is what is about the qualitative assessment. Feel free to already ask questions in the chat, and we will go back to it at the end of the presentation. Okay. So the next step is about the peer selection. So as mentioned, this is where we are going to use our algorithm to look at the profile of a company that we created. So we created an Indian company active in IT services, and therefore our system is generating a list of listed companies that are active in IT services, most probably, and also in India. All the data that you see already integrated in our models are directly coming from Capital IQ, as you can see here. So now what you need to do is to refine this benchmark. The benchmark generated by your system will never be perfect. So you can look at detailed information to understand if that makes sense to keep a certain company in the benchmark or not. And so you can access the profile of a company, the financials, and the beta. The beta calculation is based on a 5-year period and a monthly interval. Based on some of the financials, we calculate different multiples, like the EV sales, EV EBITDA, EV EBIT, and the price earning, always for 1 year historical, the current year, and 1 year looking forward. We are also calculating the debt ratio, the credit spread, and the beta levered or unlevered.
I have a point here. Can I ask you?
Please, of course.
In this particular place, do we have the information of relatively smaller private companies also?
Very good question. I think you're Shilpa, right?
Yeah.
Okay, nice to meet you, Shilpa. So now, excellent question. Here for the peer selection, we are going to exclusively look at listed companies because we are going to use our discount that we generated from the qualitative assessment. So we need to have like still listed companies to be able to be sure about the multiples that we look at. However, we are going to look at private companies under the transaction stage. Okay, so we will be able to look small private companies based in India that have been acquired in the past that might be much more similar than the big companies, and we can use the transaction comparables. Okay, so once again, this is where it's quite important to keep in mind that we are flexible because sometimes you might value like nice SMEs in India where it might make sense to look at a benchmark of listed companies. But sometimes it just doesn't make sense to use the listed companies, right? So you can just skip this step. You don't need to use it. And at the end, in the valuation stage, you will see that we have different types of methodologies. So you can just remove the methodologies that is based on the listed companies. Okay, so you always have this flexibility to use it to use different type of methodologies and different type of features depending on the type of valuation you work on, basically. Does that reply correctly to your question, Shilpa?
Yes.
Super. Thank you for your question. So yeah, you can also look at the benchmarking here. So this is where we are going to compare the companies based on the historical sales growth, forecast sales growth, average EBIT margin, and average CapEx. Then under the beta tab, we are going to compare the companies based on the beta levered or unlevered and the R-square. So based on all this information, you will be able to identify outliers and to remove some of the companies that you think are not relevant for you. So you can very easily, for example, select just some of the biggest one. And one might decide that just based on the market cap, you don't want to keep them in your benchmark. So you can clean your benchmark very easily. Once you clean your benchmark, what you can do, obviously, is to look at additional companies, right? So this is one of the features that is really appreciated by our clients. And you can just go on the advanced search on the top right side. And here we give you direct access to the full database of Capital IQ. So this is covering more than 53,000 listed companies globally. And you can use our smart filters in order to look for the most relevant companies for the project of valuation you work on. So you can filter by industry, by country, by region as well, company name, market cap, obviously. And we have the full text search. So the full text search is quite interesting because this will allow you to look for specific keywords within the description of the companies. So as you know, sometimes it's quite difficult to find information relevant companies because the granularity of the industry is not always very relevant. A specific company may be active in aerospace and defense, will be in aerospace and defense, but maybe they also have like a side company that is active in manufacturing, right? And that will not appear in manufacturing. So using the full text search allows you to look across different industries. So we could look at India, for example. But obviously, maybe some of you are working as well for clients overseas, right? So you can look for the Indian market, but you can also look at companies in the United States, in the UK, in Singapore, in Australia, in South Africa. So you will really have like a global access to the database. Apologies for the loading time. It's a bit slow. I think this is probably because it's Friday night. The module is getting a bit slow. All right, so this doesn't show. Apologies for that. But from what I remember, we have like more than 4,400 Indian companies in the database. Maybe if I look by region, South Asia. South Asia, if we take the whole region, that might be better. Okay, now we have all the companies in South Asia. So I guess like the biggest market is India here anyway. So we have 5,600 companies in South Asia, including Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Nepal, Maldives, India, etc. But as I told you, I think it's just a small bug here. But I think if I remember well, in India, we have more than 4,400 listed companies. And then you can just use the other filters to look for the most relevant companies for you. So for example, if you want to look at companies in this region active in cybersecurity, just add the keyword cybersecurity. We will show you all the companies in this market where the keyword cybersecurity appear. And so we have 43 listed companies. And as we can see, most of them are based in India. And so I guess you know some of this name. And then you can just click on the button plus if you want to add some of these companies in your benchmark. All right, so let's assume now that we are satisfied with our benchmark. So what we are going to do is to calculate the median of every single multiple. So that will give us a trend of the market based on the benchmark that we created. And this trend of the market is obviously of publicly listed companies. So that doesn't make sense for us to use this multiple for a small company, right? So we use a discount to reduce the median coming from the capital markets. And that gives us an applied metric for the valuation. So this is the actual multiple that we are going to use in the trading multiples on the metrics of our private company. Okay, so once we are done with the peer selection, we can move on to the next step, which is the business plan. Okay, the business plan is where we are going to work on financial projections, and we are going to work on different scenarios. One of the very interesting features here for our clients is that the system will always generate a first scenario for you automatically that we call the peer case. The peer case use the last annual revenue of a company that you created, so the 250 million Indian rupiah, as I entered in the first step. And then, as you can see, we have a capacity to fill all the key components of the business plan automatically for a couple of years. So in order to do that, we look at the benchmarking, where we use the same key components like sales, EBITDA, EBIT, etc. And from the network of analysts and brokers working together with our database partner, Capital IQ, we get access to this analyst estimate consensus. So we are going to calculate the median of the sales 2022, for example. So the median of the sales growth is 25.3%. Okay. Therefore, we are going to apply the 25.3% to the last annual revenue of our company. So we assume that our company is going to at least follow the trend of the market. So we do the same thing for every single year, every margin and growth. Okay, so that gives us a first scenario that will probably not be the most accurate scenario for you, but this is a very interesting scenario for two main reasons. First, that can help you to go for pitch, right? So you can try to win contracts by when you go for a pitch, you already have a scenario even without having a lot of data from the company you want to value. The second point is that this data, your clients will never have it. So that is a very interesting scenario to put it in perspective with their own financial projections. Okay, so always interesting to look at it. Obviously, you have the capacity to create your own scenarios. So you can go on Scenario Manager, and here you have the capacity to create as many scenarios as you need to. So we can create, for example, a management case scenario. And now we are duplicating the peer case, and you will have two options to create your own scenario. The first option that is the mostly used by your clients is to upload your own financial Excel sheet. So you can, I need to do another share, apologies for that. Microsoft Excel. All right, so as you can see here, we have two tabs, and we have projections and exports. So under the projections tab, the idea is that you have the full flexibility to create your own business plan with the cost build-up, sales build-up, income statement, the balance sheet. So this is what you see now is just an example that you use for the demonstration. But the idea behind it is that you have the full flexibility to create line by line your own business plan. Then you just need to use the template of the export to connect the key components with your projections. And this is what the system will be identifying and uploading in the platform. Need to do a new share, apologies for that. Okay. So then you just need to upload the platform, the Excel sheet, so in the platform. What you can do as well is pretty straightforward. You can also just overwrite some of the parameters manually. You can also change the time frame quite easily here. And once you created different scenarios, you can very easily as well go on the validation tool, where we are going to calculate some key ratios for you, such as the reinvestment rate, the return on assets, return on equity, and the return on capital employed. So these key ratios will give you a very quick overview on how relevant and how consistent your scenario are. The last tool here under the business plan is the EV/EQV bridge. So quite interesting here because we basically represent the net debt bridge, and you can change some of the positions, and you can also add positions. So if you need to add like element of regulations, like the leasing, for example, or you want to add assets here under your net debt bridge, you can add these elements here. All right, so now we can move on to the last step of input dedicated to the transactions that I mentioned a bit earlier. So this is working exactly the same way than for the peer selections. This is the same algorithm. The main difference here is that we are going to select transactions that happened in the past. And most of the time, these transactions will be including a private company that has been acquired. And that you will have a capacity to compare this small private company with the company that you're valuing. So for example, here on the 16th of June, 2021, Larsen and Toubro Infotech Limited acquired Creologic Technologies, which is an Indian company active in IT services, and they acquired the full company for 615 million Indian rupiah. And then we have the multiples here. So you can also access the profile of a company that has been acquired to understand if that makes sense to try to compare it with your own company. And you also have access to the detail of a transaction. So you can remove some transactions if they don't make sense for you. So we can see a couple of quite big transactions here. So maybe we just want to remove them and keep only the smallest one. You also have the capacity to add your own transactions. And so if you have access to other source of information, you can just add the transaction manually. And one of the features that is highly appreciated here is the advanced search under the transaction step. So here we give you direct access to more than 850,000 transactions globally. And you can use our filters to look for the most relevant transactions for you. And so you can filter once again by industry, country, region, dates, deal value, stake acquired, the bidder company, target company, and once again, the full text search. Let's look at India. Hopefully we can look at the country this time. So in India, we have above 13,200 transactions. And most of these transactions will be including private companies. Okay. So then you can filter, for example, by date. You want only recent transaction, let's say. So only from the 1st of January. You want the deal to have a maximum value of 500 million Indian rupiah. You want this to be the majority stake acquired, and you want, once again, the keyword cybersecurity. Okay, just a random test.
Maybe we can have it from 1st Jan 2022.
Since 2022?
Yeah.
You are challenging me. But of course, we can look from 2017, we have 18 transactions with all these criteria. But what we can do is like removing all the criteria and to show you all the transaction we have since 2022. Absolutely. So since the 1st of January 2022, we added, suspense, 210 transactions in the system in India. Okay. And if you want to look globally, for example, if some of you are working in foreign markets, since the 1st of January, we added almost 10,000 transactions in the platform.
And what is the source of information for the private company transactions?
So most of it is coming as well from Capital IQ, as you can see here. So this is one of the value proposition, because if you want to get a direct access to Capital IQ, that will cost you 3-4 more times what we cost, because they sell unlimited access to their database. So obviously they have much more data to give you, but we just need for the valuation, the trading comparables and the transaction comparables. So that's why all our clients that are like actually working on valuation are quite satisfied with this access to the data.
Just a small point here.
Yeah,
we can quote, say, for example, in my valuation report, I want to quote everything what is being displayed here. It's not like, I can quote that this is from Valutico, or can I quote it as, is it from Capital IQ? Can I quote like that?
Absolutely. So I'm going
I
to
can
show
quote
you
Capital IQ database, right, in my report?
Absolutely. I will show you that at the end. So we are going to generate a report in PowerPoint and in Word format, and we have disclaimers and source of information that you can obviously disclaim to all your clients. Okay. But before that, let's move on to the valuation stage, where we are going to gather all the data in our models, and we are going to generate a valuation overview with all the methodologies available in Valutico. So we have the income approaches with the DCF WACC, DCF APV, flow to equity, and the DDM, where we use a sensitive analysis and to get the minimum, the maximum, and the midpoint value in green. Then we have the trading comparables, where here in the blue is where the listed companies are trading, and in green is the midpoint value minus the discount that was coming from the qualitative assessment. And this is why the green point is on the left side. Here we have the transaction comparables and an LBO model. So don't look too much in details about the data. We are doing something very quick and dirty today. But in any ways, when you join Valutico, you can take more time to work obviously on your valuation, and we are just to have something a bit more narrow. Yeah, so here we show you as well the net debt bridge elements. So how we go from the enterprise value to the equity value. So that's quite nicely presented. So that can help you as well to present it better to your clients. How we calculate the WACC as well from the cost of equity and the cost of debt. You have the full capacity as well to change all the parameters of calculations here. And how we do all the calculation of every single methodology. The DCF WACC with the sensitive analysis here, the DCF APV, the flow to equity, the DDM, all the trading multiple with the listed companies that we selected. The transaction multiples here, and the LBO model. So once you take the time to review all the parameters of calculation, you can go back and forth in the previous step if you need to readjust some parameters from the inputs. You can also...
a small point here.
Please go ahead.
You said that, this trading comparables and the transaction multiples, did you make a statement that it's already discounted to match the level of the company which I'm valuing?
So we discounted the trading comparables. So only the trading comparables are basically the companies that are listed. So what we looked in the peer selection. So we discounted
it. Is
it.
it discounted to match the level of our company which we are valuing?
It is discounted based on the qualitative assessment. And so this is why you see the green point. The green point here is in the middle. This is the midpoint value. For the transaction, it is in the middle as well. The only methodologies where the green point is on the left side is for the trading comparables, because this is the only step where we added the discount coming from the qualitative assessment, and to compensate the difference of size of the listed companies with operate companies. Does that make sense? Do I reply correctly your question, Shilpa?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so you can also go on the change parameters button here on the top right side. So you can switch from a scenario to another. So very easily you can compare scenarios by opening different tabs and look at the different impacts on the income approaches. You can change obviously the valuation range of your valuation here and all the parameters of calculation for every single methodology. Once you refine your methodology, what you can say is one might think that, for example, the trading comparables for this specific case are not relevant. So you can decide to remove all these methodologies from your valuation report. So you just click on this methodology, save the changes, and this will disappear from your valuation overview. Okay. So now we just have the income approaches, the transaction comparables, and an LBO model. And we could actually remove as well, to have something a bit more neat, we could remove the LBO and the price earning for the transactions. All right, so you can play around these different methods to end up having the methodologies that are relevant for the work you are currently doing. I will put back all the methodologies because I want to send it to all of you later on. And like that, you can review all the detail of calculation. Just give me a minute to click again on all of them. Here we are. Yeah, so once you did all this work, refining the parameters, selecting the methodologies you want to keep or not, then you can eventually click here to share the valuation. That's going to create a link, and you can share the valuation to a colleague or to your client for them to review. So that is like an online sharing that's quite comfortable and smooth. Or you can also go on the export stage, and then this is where you can generate a report in PowerPoint or in a Word format. So now I'm generating the report under a Valutico model template, but keep in mind that whenever our clients join us, first we provide training sessions to make sure that you understand correctly how you can make the most of Valutico. And during these training sessions, we also show you how you can create your own templates with your own logo, your own colors, your own text. And you can also have different type of templates. You could have like a template for a pitch report, a template for an in-depth valuation, a template only to download transactions. So you can really have different templates depending on the different use case you will have of a solution. What you can do as well on Valutico, that is part of the package, is that you have a live chat button here on the bottom left side. And you can send us a message at any point of time if you have any difficulties or any questions about the solution, and we reply just under 2 minutes to your questions to help you in any challenge you might encounter. And so we provide the best support we can to all our clients. Meanwhile, we already generated the report. I need to do a new share, apologies. All right, you should be able to see the PowerPoint now. So as you can see, this is the valuation report for test webinar Bangalore 22. The scenario is the management case on the 8th of April. These are the disclaimers, the valuation overview with all the methodologies that we used, the net debt bridge element, the qualitative evaluation. Everything is just text and tabs. So even once you download the report, you can still change some elements of information in. So that's quite flexible. You can even add some slides if you want to add like information about the profile of the company, a detail about your business plan. So you can really, this is like maybe 80% of your final report. Okay, so I will, I think we have the sources here as Shilpa has a question, so you can use the sources here, obviously. I will make sure that I will share that with Kusum anyway, and she'll be able to share with all of you the PowerPoint, as you can take a bit more time to review the presentation. That's it. Thank you so much for your time. I try to keep it as efficient as possible, as I don't want to take too much of your time, but still trying to show you all the features of Valutico. If you have any additional questions, feel free to jump in now, or you can also contact me or Kusum later if you have questions afterwards. Don't worry about it. We can also keep the discussion ongoing on a one-on-one basis or by email, however you feel more comfortable.
So
Gee,
one of the
this
questions
is
that I
Nataraj
have
here.
is, oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Pram, I just have one question. So we saw that in the final report that was generated, we saw Valutico's logo appearing. So is it that when the report gets generated, so Valutico's logo will always be there, or that can be customized?
Yes, thank you, Kusum, for your question. That can be customized definitely. So you can create your own reports from scratch. So this is 100% customizable. So we help you to do that because basically we have a list of, okay, maybe let me show you. It's actually interesting to understand how it works. Okay, this is this file.
Hi, Jean. This is Nataraj here. It was a great presentation. I have a question.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, your valuation report was in PowerPoint presentation format.
Yeah.
So would it be possible to generate the same in the Word document or a PDF? I also have to check whether PowerPoint presentation is fine, is acceptable from our IBBI valuation perspective. So that is something we have to check. So is it possible to get in Word document?
Absolutely, Nataraj. So you have two options. You have the PowerPoint or the Word format. So you can then afterwards, obviously, generate a PDF from that. So
yeah, also the presentation is very, I mean, it has a lot of information. It's very vast. So if we want to limit the information, is there a place where we can we have a tick box or something that we want to include few and we don't want to include few items?
Absolutely. So this is exactly what I'm showing you now. I don't know if you can see my screen. I guess you can. So these are like what we call the placeholders. The placeholders are listing all the elements of information, all the graphs, all the tabs that are actually in the platform. And every single element of information is linked with a very simple line of code. So in order to create your own report, you can just select the line of code that you want to integrate, and that will create the connection directly, digitally with the platform. So if you want like a report with all the elements of information, all the methodologies, all the graphs, then you will have to use all these placeholders. If you want report only with the transactions, then I need to find it now. It's a bit tough because it's a bit small, but should have a transaction somewhere. Yeah, you can just add this line. This is just the screenshot of the transactions, list of transactions. Therefore, you will have like a one-pager report downloading only the transactions. So you're fully flexible to create your own transactions, basically, or your own reports, sorry, and select whatever you want to include in the report if you want a report that is a bit more simple, let's say.
Also, in India, there are some statutory regulations with respect to usage of IVS. Some of them are required to use IVS and some of them are required to use ICAI standards, valuation standards. So is that something we will have to plug in, or is that something available here for us to select?
No, that's an excellent question. Thank you for asking it. So basically, as I tried to explain from the beginning, we try to offer as much flexibility as we can, because we work, as I said, with more than 500 clients in more than 40 countries. And as you can imagine, a small accounting firm in Mexico and Standard Chartered Bank in Singapore are not following exactly the same regulation, the same processes, and they don't have exactly the same standards, right? So this level of flexibility allows you to use the solution the way you need to use it, depending on the type of standards that you need to follow. So it's not integrated in the platform directly, but you can basically work on it to readjust your standards directly in the report at the end. This is something you will have to do manually.
So you are saying that there is a space for free text. So we can include that wherever we want, and that can be part of the valuation report.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Suppose any of our members would like to go ahead and get the the pricing and all. Okay. So what kind of model is it? Annual subscription model, or if any two, they would have got a team. Say team could comprise of 10 or 20 or 1 or 2. So how is it? Different IDs can be given for the same subscription. Is it annual? Is it limited? Can you little bit throw light on this?
Yes, absolutely. I'll be happy to do that. So basically, we sell annual licenses per year and per user. So we have what we call like an entry price per entity that is globally, or enterprise and globally, or overall globally is like at $6,600. We have an adjusted price for depending on the markets. So the adjusted price for India is at $4,500, and for any additional user, it's another $1,000. So what we advise to do, and what we do with some of our clients, for example, even in India or in other, let's say, markets where the currencies are a bit lower than the US dollar, it's to take like accounts with different firms. So you could, for example, say, I feel comfortable to take an account with 4 other firms. So you gather together, you take one license with 3 additional users, which will cost you, I don't know, more or less $7,000, and you split the cost in between the 4 firms. Because every single account, even in the same firm, is completely independent. And for security purpose and confidentiality purpose, even if you're working with a partner and you are both co-founders and you both have an account, these 2 accounts will be separated. So you can share information between accounts, but it has to be like a proactive approach. Okay. So that's something.
Let me give you a background of Indian valuation scenario.
Yeah.
The valuers are not paid, very high fees. It's very competitive and it's not that high in all the cases. Okay, few experienced people could get a high, valuation, but many people, may or may not be able to quote a higher fees. So considering this background, I would like to request on behalf of all the BVA members to be quite reasonable. We will separately approach you also, but then, please revisit this fee structure, considering that the valuers in general are not paid high when compared to, elsewhere. It could be US or any other country. I'm sad to share this, but, I would like to reconsider the fees what you are charging, considering this,
No, thank you so much for sharing that, Shilpa. And let's say that we are in a learning process when we do like a go-to-market strategy. So we entered different countries. Like every year we enter new markets. So we entered Japan last year. Now we are working in entering China. We recently started working in India. So we are always in a learning process, right? And that's why we try to readjust the price point to find like a price point that makes sense also for us, because we can't undersell our product, but also that makes sense for the end user, where obviously you know that you can have like a return on investment quite easily using the platform. So as I have a chance to discuss with all of you today, that will be amazing if I could have also a feedback from your association to let me know what is a reasonable price point as well for the users in average, right? Some users will have lower price points, some others will have higher price point. We know that, but kind of an average price where something that is reasonable for you, reasonable for us. And it's easy for me to lower down the price per head also if there is like a group, a community that is gathering to say, okay, we are going to take like 15 user license, then it's easier for me to say, then we are going to drop down the price per user, rather than if we do a negotiations one by one, that is going to be more complicated for us to review the price point. If we manage to do negotiations for the Bangalore Valuer Association, that is much easier from the association level to say, okay, we have like, I don't know how many of us we are today, 30 people, but from my understanding, you are 70, 80 members. Let's say you have even like 10 members who want to activate it in the next, let's say, month. That's much easier for me to give like a more attractive price point, to be honest, much easier. And we are also considering and learning about the Indian market, and we want to work there. We invest in India, so we are not blind. We are listening, and we are trying to readjust to make sure that all the valuation experts in India are happily and efficiently using Valutico. So,
but how about the price increase in second or third year? Once we are accustomed, say for this Valutico, how about the price rise in second and third year?
Yeah, so basically we have a clause in our contract saying that the price might increase by a maximum of 10% of the initial cost, which is to follow inflation and stuff like that. However, some of our clients, in order to be on the safe side, are signing for 2 years or 3 years contract sometimes. Also because when we sign for 2 years or 3 years, we can be more generous in the incentive we can give. Okay, so if you are like, I don't know, 10 users from the association who wants to join us for a year, I can give you like, I don't know, a 30% discount. If you are like 10 users joining for 2 years, I can give you 40% discount, for example. So that's and that's basically reduce the price, plus that put you on the safe side to not have the increase.
Jean, it's Abraham. I have a question about the valuation approaches. What I can see is that you've got an income approach, you've got a market approach. Cost approach, I'm assuming, is not really there. We may have to build it in, maybe, perhaps. Now, in relation to the tools and techniques, what I can see is that the technique which you're using is a discounted cash flow. Would that be right? It's only a discounted cash flow, apart from, let's say, the market approach where you have something. Is there something like, say, a Monte Carlo simulation which is possible?
Yes, very good question. And it's actually something that we already faced with actually our biggest client in India. So quite a significant size firm in India that unfortunately I can't share the name for confidentiality reasons, but they joined us for 3 years at well, negotiated price, but yeah. And they had this issue that they needed to use like the cost approach, right? Our positioning is that we want to bring value in methodologies that have a certain level of complexity and which requires external data. Okay. When it comes to the cost approach, for example, the methodology is very straightforward, right? So for us, let's say that the complexity of developing the cost approach within our model is very high, but the value that we will offer to our clients will be not very high because on an Excel sheet, very easily you can actually do the cost approach. So what these clients are doing is that they're doing these approaches on the side, and then they add it to a report that is generated by Valutico. So then you can add layers and other methodologies on top of the methodologies that we actually provide from the tool. I hope that reply your questions.
That's about the cost approach. How about a Monte Carlo simulation? Any tools which are available in your model for us to do a Monte Carlo?
No, absolutely. We can't do that yet, but that's something we would be happy to consider. So basically, we take in serious consideration the feedback coming from our clients. So in the solution, you have like a feedback button. At any point of time, you can send a request. So for example, okay, so what we do is like we take in consideration the number of requests, right? So let's say if there is like a specific feature that all the members of the associations agree that it would be great to have for you guys, then if you individually all go to the feedback button and ask for the feature, that will actually prioritize it towards our technical team. So we obviously, it doesn't mean that we will develop that the day after, and we have to be I mean, honest here, and it takes time to develop new features to include it in the product roadmap.
Okay, I think you've answered it sufficiently. It could be possible, but maybe at some point of time in future. It'll be much easier if a Monte Carlo is possible in such a model as yours, because you've got all the numbers and it makes it somewhat easier for us to get something out. Okay. Let me just ask you the next question then. See, there are some, the issue with Indian valuers is the ability to take on, let us say, a global market, which is, let's say, the US market. If you want to do a 409A valuation or any other valuation, is there a format which we can use with this model to develop such a valuation? And one of the key things which we noticed there is the capitalization table. And the ability to assign values to each instrument in the cap table is what is important there, so that we get to, you know what I'm talking about in the kind of valuations. So is there something possible in this model, in this tool?
Yeah, in the system, definitely you can readjust for the cap tab, definitely the figures. What regarding the first questions about, for example, the 409A evaluation from the US, you can do it by creating your own templates. Well, you're quite lucky because we worked already in the past, because we are like we have like already more than 60 or 70 clients in the US. So obviously we already created such templates. We created it for some of our clients, but we can share it with you and you can upload it in the platform quite easily. So that's not something that is available when you sign in straight away, but we can give it to you because we have it already, basically.
Okay, thanks for that. Nothing else from my side. Thank you.
Thank you for your questions.
Quite a lot.
Yeah, I do have another question. What about confidentiality of the data? I mean, is that, you know, now that all the data will be on the cloud, how do we have an assurance that the data is actually only accessed only by the user and it is not publicly available, or it is not shared?
No, very good question. Thank you, Kusum. So basically, it's indeed a very important point that we tackle with all our clients, right? So there is a couple of things here. First, technically, we are working with AWS, and we are saving our data in 2 different data centers of AWS, Germany and Austria. Okay, so we double save all the data to make sure that there is no technical issue, right? This is the first thing. Second thing, that's why I explained a bit earlier, you know, when I said that even if you are from the same firm, no one can access your data. So if you have your own account, Kusum, for example, and one of your staff members has an account as well, you won't be able to access his data apart if he actively sends you the data that he's working on. Okay, so this is something, even within the same firm, we have like Chinese walls that are built in between every single account to make sure that this is and remains confidential, keeping the flexibility to share the information, but it has to be, once again, proactive. Okay. The last point that I think is like the last defense in case of a leak, which never happened, is that you can, what we advise to our clients, if confidentiality is extremely important to you, when you work on a valuation project, just don't write the name of a company, right? Call it Project ABC. If the company name is like a company 123, don't call it company 123, just call it Project ABC. If there is any leak like that, no one can really link it with, link the data and the information you're working on with the actual company you're working on. But we never had any leak, any issues. And last summer, we did a IT security check with Mazar in the UK. And we are all safe. So we are pretty happy about it. So that should be fine.
One question regarding your comparables. Your data from S&P Capital IQ, are the financials published ones, or are they normalized financials?
I'm sorry, I could not, I think it was cutting off a bit at the end. Ganesh, can you ask again the question, please?
Yeah, I see that for all the comparable companies, you are pulling data from S&P Capital IQ. Are these published financials as is in the database, or are they normalized financials?
Yeah, okay. No, they are normalized, yeah, absolutely.
They are normalized.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why we get it like quite, we have like the most biggest layers of information. That's how we get it here.
Thank you.
Of course.
And I have another question. So Black-Scholes model is used for ESOP valuation. Is that I mean, is that already available in the model you have presented?
Which method? Sorry, I'm not sure I know this one.
Black-Scholes Melton.
Okay.
That
Oh
is
yeah,
the
yeah, okay,
model.
okay. Yeah, okay.
Do you have that in the software?
No, we don't have we don't have it
Okay.
in software. We don't.
Oh,
We don't.
okay.
No, we can build it on the side basically. We are just to give you an idea as well, because I mean, valuation, we cover like some of the main methodologies as you understood, but obviously a lot of side methodologies, a lot of side features can be like added to the system, right? So just to give you a bit of an overview about what's going to happen as well in the next 6 to 12 months in Valutico. The biggest change that is going to happen now is that we are adding what we call a VC method in the valuation methodologies to allow our clients to value startups, early stage startups, pre-revenue, for example. So this is something that is going to be added in the next 1 or 2 months. Then we are also working on an impairment module, okay, for you to value your intangible assets. That should be coming more around Q3, Q4. We are also in the middle of working with for an ESG module. So we just released the first version. It's still in a beta version, so we don't commercialize it yet. But you will have a capacity to look at the ESG criteria of your company towards the end of the year as well. So these are some of the things we are working on. More projects,
actually, I mean, I must say that integrations are really good in what you have presented. Only thing is, from India perspective, what we can give inputs is that the statutory requirement is very vast. So we have FEMA valuation, Ind AS valuation, and various other valuations. And also, I just mentioned about ESOPs. So if you can cover all those also, there's a lot of opportunity for you. So it's just input from our side.
No, thank you so much. And this is something we heard already from some markets, including India. These are things that is still doable manually. And that's why we don't prioritize it, because the problem is that we would love to keep developing new methodologies, but unfortunately, every time we develop a methodology or even just a simple feature in the platform, it has a lot of impacts on all the back end of the system. So it's not like as straightforward. It's not like building something in Excel, right? So we need to prioritize things. That's why for now, some of its methodologies can still be covered on the side by manual work. So for now, we don't prioritize it, but we are starting to consider it.
Yeah, that makes sense. You have to look at what is your scope. That's fair.
Yeah, but for us, it's also an opportunistic approach. If we start working with more and more Indian clients and collaborating with a couple of local associations, and the more we hear this feedback and hear this feedback and hear this feedback, and the more we see a bigger opportunity for us in India, the faster we will develop such things as well. You know what I mean?
Sure, thank you.
Thank you so much for your question.
Are there any more questions? If there are no more questions, then I hand over the session to Shilpa for conclusion.
Thank you, everyone. And feel free to reach out if you have any question. Thank you. Thank you, Kusum. Thank you, Shilpa.
Yeah, John, one second.
Sorry.
It was very, interesting session we had today. It's the privilege of the BVA members to listen to John on this, valuation tool, which could save a lot of time and lot of efforts, and automatically the report is getting generated with lot of flexibility. I understand you have a lot of, clients who are PE firms, VC firms. It could be valuation practitioners across the world. It could be a bank, and you just stated that you're spread all across the globe. So it could be good value addition for all the valuation practitioners in India as well. We really like the way you are benchmarking and the peer selection. All the options which you are showing to us could quite come handy to the valuation professionals. We are looking forward to separately connect you and understand the pricing, and then separately check with the members as to how they are interested, how many of the members are interested. Thanks all. I also thank all the BVA members for patiently hearing and attending the session. Thanks everyone.
Yeah, Shilpa, I just have one suggestion. Maybe we can actually roll out a feedback form asking specific questions relating to what is their thought process regarding utilizing a tool for preparing a valuation report, and also what is the price points that they are actually comfortable with. Of course, one other question that we could certainly ask is there any scope for improvement? Of course, if Jean is able to work with us and understand and customize it according to India requirements, I'm sure it is going to be a win-win situation for both Valutico as well as the valuers in India.
Yes, we will certainly do that. Thanks, everyone. I wish you a very happy weekend. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.